Hello everybody, this is Graeme Anderson, and today I'm going to be looking at Dwarven Miner Reforged. Now the thing that caught my eye about the game is actually the name on the box across here at the bottom, Elmore. Now I used to play Dungeons & Dragons many years ago, and I knew the name Larry Elmore from the fantasy artwork he did for TSR. And when I read the back of the box, it said it was using some of his legacy artwork for this game. So that was intriguing. The game is also a sequel to the game Dwarven Miner, a game that I never played, but I know about and figured this would be another good intro-style game. And I'm always on the lookout for another good, quick, light game that is easy enough to pull off the shelf at any time to have some quick fun. But when I opened the box and actually saw the components, the first thought was, uh-oh. But they say you shouldn't judge a game by its first looks. So let's get it to the table, see how it's played, then we'll come back for my final thoughts on Dwarven Miner Reforged. So here's Dwarven Miner set up for 3 players. Place the arcane crystals, mithril, and alchemical powder resources in their spaces on the board. Shuffle the Orc Mischief cards and place them on their spot, and place the Orc Mischief tokens off to one side. The treasure chests go on their spot, and shuffle the adventure deck and place it on its spot on the board. Each player will take a backpack that can store up to 6 resources and 7 treasures at the end of your turn. They'll also get a set of 4 matching runestones of their color and place their scoring marker on the entry spot of the honor track. Deal each player 4 adventure cards, and each player will select one of the 4 and place it face up next to the board. They do not receive honor points for the card, but the card is available to be hired during the game. Determine who will go first, then hand out treasures based on player order. The first player gets none, second player gets 1 treasure, third player gets 2 treasures, etc. The game is played over until one player achieves 30 or more honor points, and you're going to get honor points from crafting adventure cards. A player's turn consists of 3 steps. You don't have to do each step, but they must be done in order. First, roll the dice. If you roll one of the 3 resources, take that resource and place it on your backpack. If you have more than your backpack can hold, just put them off to one side for now. You'll get rid of excess at the end of your turn. If you roll the gold side, take 2 treasure chests. If you roll a burglar side, you can perform 1 burgle action during your turn. Doesn't matter how many burglars you roll, you can only perform 1 burgle action. If you roll 1 burglar, you can steal a gold from another player. For 2 burglars, you can steal a resource, and for 3, you can replace someone's rune with your own, and I'll talk about runes during the crafting phase. If you roll an orc, place 1 Orc Mischief marker on the board. It does not matter if you re-roll an orc die, every time an orc is rolled, you place a mischief marker. If you place the 6th, clear them all off and turn over the top Orc Mischief card and follow what it says. Then continue your turn. During this dice rolling phase, you can use the abilities of adventure cards that are face up around the table. They will often allow you to break the rules of the game. If you use a card in front of you, it's free. If you use a card in front of another player, you must pay that player 1 gold to use their card. Once you've actioned all your dice, we go to the crafting phase. During this phase, you will spend the resources you've collected to purchase items on the main board. If the item does not have a rune symbol on it already, pay the resources to the left of the item and place your rune marker on the item. The rune will stay there until you use it to fulfill an adventure card in your hand, or you choose to remove it. You can always buy resources you need by spending 2 treasure chests to get 1 resource. The other option to get an item is just to purchase it with treasure. The upside of this is you can buy an item that someone else already has their rune on. The downside is that it's only available to you until the end of your turn, so you'd better fulfill an adventure card in your hand using that item. To purchase an item with treasure chests, put the number of treasure chests on the item as resources the item needs to be crafted. So if an item requires 3 resources, it will cost 3 treasure chests to buy it. Once you've done crafting, you'll go to the fulfillment and cleanup phase. First, you'll declare if you have enough items through crafting or purchasing with treasure chests to fulfill a card from your hand. If so, play the card face up in front of you. It is now available to be used by all players. Score the honor points from the card, and you can fulfill and score multiple adventure cards on a single turn. Then you clean up. Return any rune markers on items you use to fulfill adventure cards. All of the rune markers stay on the item board. Return any treasure chests from items to the supply. Check to make sure you do not have more than 6 resources or 7 treasure chests, returning any excess to the supply. Draw 2 adventure cards, keep 1 and discard the other, and finally pass the dice to the next player. The game is over as soon as one player reaches or passes 30 honor points, and as soon as that happens, that player is the winner. Now let's get back to see what I thought about Dwarven Miner Reforged. So let's start off with theme and components. The theme of this game is virtually non-existent. There's nothing in the rulebook that explains what this game is supposed to be about, so you kind of have to go with the minimal blurb on the back of the box. So it's got something to do with crafting weapons for adventurers, I guess. But you know what? I'm okay with lack of theme in a game. And even for the style of quick, simple, getting resources to trade them for other resources to get victory points, they generally don't have a great immersive theme anyway. But this one is definitely on the light side. So let's go on to the components themselves. And my initial thoughts weren't that far off the bat. I'm going to start off with some positives though. The Larry Elmore art, it's bright and colorful and exactly what I would expect. It really makes me feel like I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons from the late 80s, early 90s. And kind of that's when that art style is from. The dice are actually nice. They have a nice feel to them. They are very easy to read, and the different sides are very easy to tell apart. So I actually quite like the dice. As for the rest of the components, they really were subpar. The tokens, they're different sizes, or different shapes, I should say. I've got these orc tokens here. I've got 4 circular ones and 2 square ones. Why? Who knows? And the resources themselves are the same type of thing. You have some square and some round for no particular reason. The orc cards, yes, there is a picture of an orc on the back, but the front is just text. It's just, I don't know why. And everything is the shade of brown. The board, the cards, the tokens, even the non-Elmore art on the cards. It just feels like they spent all their art and graphics money on the Elmore art and had nothing left over for the rest. In a game that is this light, I would want to figure that you would have something that's bright and inviting and enticing people to stop and sit down at the table. This game is definitely not that. Now the quality of the components are fine, decent cardboard and cardstock, but just the look is subpar. Oh, and if you're going to make a fitted insert for all your components, make sure it actually fits all of your components. So on to the gameplay. And unfortunately it doesn't get much better for me in this regard. Now there are some positives. I really enjoyed the manipulation of the dice using the cards. That, for me, was by far the strongest part of the game. Unfortunately, since you're using other people's cards as well as your own, you're constantly asking, oh, okay, so this is what I rolled. Wait, what do you have over there again? Because near the end of the game, when each player has 2 to 3 cards in front of them, keeping track of who has what and what each card does is not an easy task. And also, the rules are kind of unclear of how you activate the cards, especially this is a push your luck game. That is, when a card is in front of me, I don't pay for it. But can I use it as many times as I want? If I have a card that says I can re-roll all unused dice, can I keep rolling until I get the perfect roll? Whenever I played, we said no, it was once per turn thing. But the rules don't specify that, and if there is supposed to be press your luck, maybe you can, I'm not sure. Now the runes were a neat idea, that you're claiming a spot on the board that no one else can go to until you remove it, as it kind of forces other people to either change their plan or make use of some of the abilities to manipulate the board state. I thought that idea worked well. And there's a definite build-up in the game as well, another decent aspect. As the more cards on the table, the more you're able to manipulate the dice and board state. Yeah, it kind of slows you down, but it's a nice thing to have. You could build some combos with the cards that you have in front of you with cards that other people have in front of them. I thought that was kind of fun. There is some take that in this game. Early on it's the burglar action, using to steal gold or move an opponent's runes. You know what? It's fine, because the build-up to get items is reasonably quick that it really doesn't set you back that far. So I was okay with the take that, especially for this style of game. And the trading for one thing for another thing to get victory points, you know what? It's a proven mechanism that works well, and this game does it in a nice, straightforward manner. It's not complicated to figure out how you can get the cards played in front of you. So I'd assume you're wondering, I've said a bunch of good things about the game. Why didn't I end up liking it? The simple answer is gold. The ability to buy whatever you need makes the gathering of the resources or any of the cards less useful as the game goes on. You can only store 7 gold from round to round, that's true. But the ability just to buy things outright with enough gold really kind of diminishes the rest of the game. The game seems to have a pivot point. Early on in the game, there's a good back and forth as you try and get cards out and you try and take spots on the board. But then everyone just kind of switches to wanting to roll gold. It doesn't matter what else you roll, you just want gold. Yes, the gold you use to buy something goes away at the end of the round, but it makes rune blocking trivial. It's because you can just buy it anyway. I don't care whether your rune is there. All the cards can be bought for 68 gold. That includes buying all the items you need. And if you roll a gold symbol, you get 2 gold. So you should be able to buy a card without any resources every round or two in the mid to late game, where you can start to manipulate your dice a bit more. Now I understand there is some push your luck when re-rolling with the orcs,
but no one I've ever played seemed to really think the Orc card penalties were that much of a deterrent to get the gold you needed to buy cards. The Orcs never affect the cards in play or hand, so they may set you back a little bit, but not really enough to be a huge consequence. They kind of felt more like a minor inconvenience, so there kind of was no push your luck. Now this one fact turned this game from a decent one to one I really didn't like, and it turned most of the players off that I played with. So would I recommend this game? No, I can't recommend this one. I liked Larry Elmore's art, and I enjoyed the abilities that the cards gave you, and I actually didn't mind the whole process of, dice rolling and the manipulation of resource collection to get points. But the really poor quality control and the graphic design of the rest of the cards, combined with that dreary look, just makes this game uninviting. My biggest negative of the game, though, is how powerful that gold turned out to be. It took a game that could have been an enjoyable light family game and just kind of turned it into a game where there just seems to be one strategy and all players just focused on getting that, just getting gold. And that's kind of boring after a while. So overall, I'm going to give this game a 5 out of 10. A game that I enjoyed at first when I played it, but the more I played, the less I liked. But oh well, that's it for the moment. As usual, thanks for watching.